Bit of Chinese there. And there's Interlingua, it's a language club. It's nice, isn't it? Have a language club. I've been to a few of these language club things. Usually consists of people sitting around tables talking, which inevitably means some people do a lot of talking and others do a lot of listening. But that's fine. That's what people naturally fall into those categories. The worst thing is those that like to do a lot of talking but are not as dominant as some of the people that like talking. They don't have such a good time there. So when I was younger, I didn't like them that much, and now they're okay. And usually you sit around a table. HB Revis, big real estate company in Slovakia. Got a lot of different developments. We're friends with them. There's the sign on the top of that building there. So yeah, people sit around different tables and do different languages. So there's a different language going on at each table. So one table might be for German, and everybody around there, you walk past that table and you've got people going, oh ja, Sie haben recht, ja. And you walk on and it might be a French table. And you walk past that one and you hear, oh, vous avez raison, non? And on it goes. That's until you get to the Russian table. And then when you get to the Russian table, apart from the fact they're drinking heavier than the others, they're going, а я с вами не соглашаюсь. Вы не правы. Oh yeah, that was the shortest one I've ever seen as far as going across the road's concerned. That even leaves Prague standing. Okay. Nice bit of stucco on that building. Okay. This looks like the... Oh dear, I mustn't focus at the sun. I've lost cameras that way. It's interesting because the building... I'll show you it more when a bit of a this morning. Right, is the sun gone behind? Yes. So you can see how it resembles the prow of a ship, and there's the anchor down here. So there you go, lots of installations, as they say, here in Bratislava. Maly Trh. Maly Trh means small market. If you see the word TRH in a Czech or Slovak word, it can mean one of two things. Trh on its own just means like market. It's related to the Viking word for market, because, well, the Vikings were good marketeers, they were free marketeers. I think they could say something like Torv or something like that in Viking, and it was Torg, and that in Russian became Targ in Polish and Trh in Czech and Slovak. And the other meaning of that syllable, usually in larger constructs, comes from trchat, which is to pluck. Yeah? which is of course cognate with the Russian for touching, which is trogать. And there's various things with trh, and if under or trj, if you put it through the sound change, because it's got like an I following it. Roztržitý means plucked in all directions, or in other words, absent-minded, yeah, chaotic. So you've got all sorts of verbal nests in Slavonic languages where you put a different prefix on, it changes the meaning. And then you've got different ways of putting suffixes on, which affect the tense and aspect of the verb. And whether it's an iterative suffix, which means you keep doing it, or just the once off, and that all fits in as well with aspect. You've got perfective and imperfective aspects. A lot of learners of Slavic choose to ignore aspects and try and fit the Slavic verb into the English system. That doesn't work too well, though. They usually end up using the wrong aspect when they speak Russian or Polish. When you speak a Slavonic language, you have to consider whenever you use a verb, are we talking about this once? Or are we talking about keeping on doing it? Are we talking about having a result? Or are we talking about being able to do the action, but not to a specified result, as it were? The difference is like saying something, yeah, or unspeaking. You can speak a lot without saying anything. And so those two, but if you speak to the end, then hopefully you have said something. In Slavonic languages, those two, like speak and say, would be aspectival pairs, and you'd have an aspectival pair for every verb, whereas in English you've only got them for some. Although some verbs very naturally only really appear in one aspect. I knew it, yeah, is usually imperfective. It usually literally means I was in a state of knowing it, so it's usually imperfective. But that's when I knew, as in that's when I found out, that's a perfective. And so when you have that sense, you use a different verb. You use a verb which is based on the word to know, and I'm not going to say it because I'm talking about all Slavonic languages here, and they have different words for to know. Sometimes it's like based on wiedzieć, and sometimes it's znać, but then you'd stick a prefix on the beginning to show perfection, perfectiveness, that's the moment in which you once and for all unchangeably knew something. So you have a change of state, a little bit like when you've got the Chinese l. So it's no surprise really that Slavonic verbs take their past tense in l, like the Chinese l for a change in state, rather than the usual other models that you find within Indo-European languages for past tense, which is usually ending in either with a repetition of the first syllable or with a D or a T at the end, which even languages like Hungarian follow, putting a D or a T at the end of the verb to show a past tense. So and so does Japanese, for that matter, usually end in the past tense with a T form. Mas goes to mashta, etc. Right. Enough for this morning, I think. This is Karadzićova, named after Vuk Karadžić, who was the inventor of the Serbian writing system, along with several other things.